Hey everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. So I have an update on not one, but three of Trump's Capitol terrorists. It's time for an episode of Where Are They Now?
Matthew Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
So first up is oathbreaker David Morshell. Morshell is a 43-year-old man from Florida who was arrested on July 2nd. He was facing up to 26 years in prison, for charges brought by the Department of Justice. But Morshell was just indicted, and he was added to a fifth superseding indictment against the oathbreakers, against that whole group that was charged with conspiracy. His charges were increased from where they were. The charges against Morshell now include conspiracy, obstruction of an official proceeding, also aiding and abetting in that crime, entering and remaining in a restricted building or grounds, and destruction of government property and aiding and abetting in that crime as well. So Morshell was one of the oathbreakers who was seen ascending the Capitol steps in a military stack formation. They each had their hand on each other's back so they could communicate at all times. He also was one of the people who allegedly entered the Capitol illegally. And prosecutors say that he took part in pre-planning meetings that I've mentioned before on the show, which included like online meetings on GoToMeeting, also on group chats and messaging apps like Signal. Now, based on the new charges, Morshell is now looking at a maximum of 36 years in prison because the government property that he allegedly helped to destroy is valued at more than $1,000. Next up is oathbreaker Laura Steele. Steele is a 52-year-old woman from North Carolina, and she was already part of the conspiracy case against the Oath Keepers. And she too was part of that military stack. She was facing already over 20 years in prison for conspiracy and various other crimes, but her charges also have now been increased. So Steele has now been indicted on the following charges: conspiracy, obstructing an official proceeding, destruction of government property exceeding $1,000, entering a restricted building or grounds. And there were two new charges added, which include civil disorder and tampering with documents or proceedings. Steele's new charge of tampering with documents resulted from her alleged actions on January 7th. The government contends that Steele, along with her co-defendant, Graydon Young, destroyed January 6th evidence. They say that they put evidence into a burn pit in her backyard and just burnt it up. So that's monumental because that one charge alone carries a maximum penalty of up to 20 years. Just that. So with these new charges, Steele is now facing up to 61 years in prison. The third and final oathbreaker I have the update on and that they've added charges to is Jason Dolan. He's a 44-year-old oathbreaker, also from Florida. He's also a veteran of the Marine Corps. He too allegedly took part in online meetings and encrypted messages with other oathbreakers. Dolan is also accused of being part of that mob that aggressively entered the Capitol and pushed past officers. And prior to his arrest, he allegedly swept his house. He got rid of all Oathkeeper clothing, anything that has to do with the Oathbreakers. He got rid of all of his weapons. And he and his wife told the FBI, "Oh, we don't own any weapons." However, what they found on social media and in comments and photos tells a very different story. There were photos of even his daughter holding a weapon on one of their Facebook pages. And their neighbors outed them too. Their neighbors confirmed to authorities that, yeah, they not only own multiple guns, but they use multiple guns. In addition, Dolan was seen in hotel surveillance footage. You may remember this from the video short I did on him. On January 7th, he was seen on hotel surveillance pushing a luggage trolley in a hotel in Virginia, which appeared to carry on that luggage trolley 3 long gun cases. And that happens to be the hotel that was referenced by many of these people in these encrypted messages talking about their QRF, which is their quick reaction force. And if you're unfamiliar with that term, it's essentially a group of people waiting with weapons that can be called upon, and they're within a short distance, so they can show up within a short period of time with those weapons. And this hotel was, just by chance, located a very short distance from the Capitol, like a 5-minute drive. It was right across the river, but it was in Virginia, which allowed them to subvert the weapons laws in DC. So the indictment against Dolan also alleges that he deleted emails on March 12th, that he went in, he deleted all of his emails. Now that's significant, the date is, because it happens to be the same day that his co-defendant and alleged travel buddy, Kenneth Harrelson, was indicted. So Dolan was already staring down the barrel of 36 years, but a new crime was added to his case in this 5th superseding indictment. Dolan is now charged with conspiracy, obstructing an official proceeding, destruction of government property exceeding $1,000, entering a restricted building or grounds, and then the new charge of civil disorder. So Dolan's new charge stems from his alleged interference with law enforcement. The FBI says that Dolan pulled on the arm of an officer who was trying to hold back Capitol terrorists who had broken through barriers, and apparently they were climbing the stairs to the East Rotunda door of the Capitol. And so that officer was trying to stop them, and Dolan, they claim, pulled on his arm. Now, that civil disorder charge adds another 5 years to his existing potential 36 years behind bars. We all know, based on what we've seen already, that this guy isn't going to spend anywhere near 41 years in prison, but he is likely to be locked up for some period of time. It's unlikely he's going to be like some of these people who got a slap on the wrist and just gets probation or something. And he does have a wife and young children based on his social media posts. So, he's going to miss out on some time with them. He's also going to likely lose his military benefits over this if he's convicted, or if he, strikes a plea deal. So let's just hope it's enough to wake him up, because just as recently as May, this guy was still spewing out conspiracy theories. He was saying that the police opened up the doors from inside. And you may have heard that conspiracy theory before, because apparently they're latched with magnets. And so everybody's saying, oh, well, they couldn't have been open from the outside. But anybody with a brain and eyes and ears who's been paying attention knows that that's already been proven false. We all know, based on not just assumption, but actual video evidence, that these domestic terrorists broke the windows and climbed through, and then they opened the doors from the inside. They had stolen riot shields, they had other types of items and weapons, and they used those to break the windows. I shared some of that footage with you guys on that day, on January 6th, as it was being recorded by journalists. So they're the ones who opened it from the inside. Now, here's my question. Here's what keeps going through my mind as I'm reading about all of these cases. How stupid are these people? Most of these oath breakers are former police officers, or they're former military members. Are these the rejects? Are these the people who couldn't cut it? These people were supposedly trained by our police departments and our United States military, but they weren't aware that there were cameras everywhere at the Capitol, or that there's cameras in hotels. They didn't know that all of their communication could be retrieved, and they didn't realize that the government could use geo-targeting and other tools to determine their whereabouts, like track their cell phones, not just on January 6th, but leading up to January 6th, and track their movements. But let's go back even further than that. These expertly trained officers and veterans couldn't spot con artists like Donald Trump or Q from a million miles away? Seriously? I mean, that should terrify all of us, really. I mean, oh my, we're in trouble. I mean, we do know that there are people who are better at their job, like the ones who are speaking out about being terrorized and physically assaulted that day, like Officer Fanone, Officer Dunn, the people who have the ovaries actually to step up and speak out, not all the ones who've remained silent for some odd reason. But that's where it stands. So they've all been indicted on those additional charges. They're facing more time in prison. Hopefully that maybe gives them a little incentive to work with the government, give up a few other people. There were other people that weren't named. There's still someone who's just listed as person 19, I think it is. So hopefully eventually we'll learn the identity of that person. But yeah, they're slowly coming out, more and more people. And oh, guess what? They're not FBI informants. Oh my God, totally blows Tucker Carlson and all these other people's conspiracy theories out of the water. What do you know? They were wrong again. Anyway, guys, as I hear more, I'll let you know. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Take care, and I'll talk with you soon.